Okay, so I'm here with the incredible Jose Moralejo, who's helped people get incredible results like 72K in the first month. You help people transition spiritually, financially, even emotionally and physically. You traveled the world while operating this incredible business and making drastic shifts in people's businesses. Sometimes I think you're like full of shit. I'm like, how come I can't help people get to 72K in the first month? So yeah, man, I'm really curious just to know what your story is, what your background is. We've been friends for quite a while now, but we never kind of really dug deep into the trenches of what your life looks like, man. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, a lot of my clients, they do get like pretty crazy results. Like a lot of times I'm even surprised. Like I've had guys go from 0 to 100K in 2 months, 0 to 100K in 4 months, 72K first month working with me. Some of the guys are doing like 30K in a week. And I'm not like a business coach per se, although a lot of the spiritual implications of, especially in today's world, what people are looking to cultivate in their lives. Like everybody wants freedom, right? Everybody wants freedom. They want to be able to be in control of their reality, to do whatever they want on their own terms to some degree.
Right.
And a lot of times business is one of the most spiritual paths to walk. And so I like to really kind of put those two things together because they really do go hand in hand. Like a lot of times your spiritual connection to yourself is going to influence the results you get in your business. So, you know, it's pretty natural that a lot of my clients just have these massive quantum leaps in their ability to not only transact with people, but to get such high level results in their life and in their business that freedom literally becomes quickly the reality that they live in. And so for me, I've had a really difficult journey, bro. Like I have really pushed the limits and really pushed the boundaries of what I can do and what I can accomplish. And the journey for me, it started really, really early on. And the more I reflect and the more I connect with myself, the more I realize I've kind of always been like this. Like even from an early age, I've been extremely aware, just hyper aware of everything, even to the point where my mom tells me this story all the time. She's talked about this story since I was a kid, that when I was 3 years old, you know, usually parents spank their kids. You can, psychologically, you can spank kids up until 6. After 6, it usually turns them a bit aggressive. But so my mom used to spank me and my brother when we were kids. And when I was 3, I turned around and I looked her dead in the eyes and I glared at her and like, don't fucking touch me ever again type of shit. And she, like from that moment on, she never spanked me again. You ever hear this term of like a conscious baby? I was definitely one of those where I was like hyper aware of social cues. I was hyper aware of energy even early on. And it created a lot of chaoticness in my life. You know, I used to have major depression and anxiety, and I wasn't fully able to recognize how sensitive I was to my environments up until about 23, 24 years old, where I ultimately decided to face all of these emotions and understand where they came from. And going all the way back to like high school and stuff, like at 16 years old, very unusual for a 16-year-old kid to want to be interested in like psychology and personal development. Like the first book I ever read on psychology was The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And that book catalyzed a lifelong exploration of what the mind is and how we can use our minds to create a better reality, to create more ease and flow. Because I grew up in an environment where like we just didn't have much. You know, my parents got divorced when I was 12 years old, and finances were always extremely uncertain. I remember like when I was 13 years old, my parents couldn't pay the light bill. So the lights were getting shut off. And all of my friends were getting new phones and getting the new PlayStations. And, you know, it was like, we just lived in poverty. And as I got older, it became more clear, holy shit, like we literally don't have anything. I remember when I was 16, 17 years old, one of my best friends, his parents bought him a brand new car. And I like didn't even have a license, you know? and so I'm watching all this, and it just created like this sense that I always lived in lack. I always felt lesser than. I always felt like I wasn't worthy of freedom and success and even like a lot of money. And so it also really hurt my social relationships with people. Like my romantic relationships were all over the place. And I just had all of this pressure on myself. And like I would put myself under such tremendous amounts of pressure that it was like impossible for me to feel good about myself. And so no matter how much success I accomplished, no matter how much my grades were outstanding, or like being the captain of my wrestling team in high school, like I did 4 years of wrestling in high school. I was the captain of the team, was always in peak physical fitness. My grades were impeccable. And even then I still had this massive like hole inside of myself. And the way I would use success and even just like growth and expansion, I would use it as like a coping mechanism. And the more successful I became, it just like never actually filled the hole. And when I finished university, I sort of hit this wall. I hit this wall where I'm like, okay, I still feel like shit about myself. And no matter how much money I make or how cool I am or how much status I accomplish or how many people I network with, it just I never felt good enough. And so I did like the opposite. I did like the opposite of what most people do. Most people, whenever they have like major depression or any kind of like emotional disconnection with themselves, they just pretend it's not there, continue to move forward. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like the entrepreneurial mindset of like, fuck your feelings, keep going forward. And I did like the opposite. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna give myself a moment in time where I'm just gonna like feel like shit. I'm just gonna let it all come out, let it all come up. And in that moment in time, I was like 23, 24 years old at the time. I had just failed my third summer of doing door-to-door sales. I did 3 summers of door-to-door sales, barely made any money doing that. And I just had this moment of like, I have $7,000 of credit card debt. I have 2 university degrees that I have no intention of wanting to get a job at all. I stopped working out for like 3-4 months. I shaved my head. Well, now I am bald, right? But at the time, it's like I didn't have to be. So I like shaved my head and I just like let everything sink. I was like, fuck it, let's just trust the universe and trust that God is like guiding me on this path for a reason. And dude, that was like the most difficult thing I ever did. Like all the darkness, all of my self-defeating thoughts, my self-hatred, like I hated myself, I realized. And I was trying to achieve success and validation and attention from people and money and all these things. I was using all those things as like a crutch. But the truth is, I was so deeply unfulfilled with like who I was as a person. And this caused me to stay up late at night just crying. I remember like that phase, it was like a 6-month phase. I was just like crying almost every single night. And I had to get a job to just like put some money on the table. And it was like I was doing sales calls and then crying in between the calls and jumping on the next one. And you know, I really isolated myself. I like basically told most of my friends. I didn't tell any of my friends that I came back home. I didn't date any girls for like 8 months. Like literally no sex, no girls for like 8 months. And I took that time to restructure and reprogram my relationship with myself. And what happened after that phase, like I'm telling you, it was like rock bottom, no money, no opportunity, just like in this pit of depression and anxiety. What happened after that, because I allowed myself to face those emotions in a very proactive way, was everything in my life got better. I started to travel all over the US and Europe, and I was speaking on stage with some of the biggest people in the world for personal growth and development. Like some of my friends that I met working for that company are like the biggest in the world. Like they have massive, massive brands. And so I was traveling all over Europe and I started making 15, 20K a month. And all of a sudden my network started to flourish. I moved to downtown Miami. I was actually living in this building just a few floors down. And just like my life exploded. It just like exploded with just confidence and abundance and freedom. I was doing whatever I wanted. And then COVID happened shortly, like a year later after that. COVID happened and like the world was going to shit. And I was just like enjoying my time and I was living abundantly. And that energy has carried me even through this day. And there's been ups and downs and there's been major expansiveness and big pullbacks as well. But all throughout that, it's like that relationship with myself and that deep trust and that deep love that I have for who I am has been the hallmark of my fulfillment and my joy and my presence to who I am. And so that's sort of a little bit about my journey. And you know, there was a ton of adversity to accomplish as well. I remember like, you know, when I was doing door-to-door sales, knocking doors, just like putting in the work, but not seeing any results. It was like, I had to really dig deep in order to finish those summers and actually like at least have some money to go back home with. And I had to get, even when I started my own business, I had to get really, really resourceful. You know, the first month I started my coaching business, I did 10K in my first month. Like brand new offer, brand new brand.
When did you start that though?
That was in December of 2020. So.
Okay. So 4 years you've been a business owner?
About 3.5, yeah.
3.5.
Yeah, and what happened in 2020 was the job that I was working, I was doing high ticket sales. I was the number 1 high ticket closer at my company. And they did a couple of weird things. Like they did some really sketchy shit. You know, a side note, if you're a business owner, never ever just reduce your closer's pay without like a really specific reason for why they're doing it. That's what they did to us. We're like, oh, we're reducing the commission percentage by 2%. But if you do that over a whole year, it's like 15%. I remember like that year I was gonna make like 200K or something. And with all the changes that they made, I was gonna make like 140 or something. I'm like, bro, no, hold on. Like, what the hell's going on, you know?
Right.
And so what that reminded to me was the whole fact of like, oh, even if I am doing really well and I'm making a bunch of money and I'm making someone else a bunch of money, I'm still not in control. And it inspired me to come back into entrepreneurship and to actually run my own company, because that way I have control over how much I get paid.
What do you mean back?
Because my first failed business was in college.
Oh,
Yeah,
what was that
I was
about?
telling you about that a little bit earlier. So my first failed business was, I have 2 university degrees. One is in entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurship and professional sales.
Yeah.
And in the entrepreneurship program, it was really cool. There's very few universities that do this, but they actually give you money to start a business. They give you $1,000 grant. And me and one of my fraternity brothers, we started a craft beer subscription service. And
That's cool.
Yeah. And at the time, it was like no one did this. There was like one company that did it.
Yeah.
And there was very limited options. And you don't drink beer, no?
I love beer, but no, very rarely. Just because the carbs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, in the craft beer world, people will want to try, like there's 2,000 microbreweries across the US. So there's a bunch of different like small little breweries that have all these different flavors. So people that are into craft beer, it's a very niche thing, but they want to try all the beers. So we were like, my business partner loved craft beers. I didn't really drink that much, but he goes, why don't we just start a subscription service? But the problem was that all of the laws at the time didn't allow for it. It's like to distribute alcohol, there's so many different laws and legislations that you have to abide by, and it's very expensive to get a liquor license. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we were in college, like, okay, we got the website done. We had partnerships with like potential microbreweries across the US. We even had a shipper, like a logistics company to be able to ship it, but we couldn't get around the laws. So we just couldn't run the bit, we couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
And so we ended up just trashing, we canned the whole idea because either way, just the laws, we just couldn't get around the law. If we would have started that business like 3 or 4 years later, we would have absolutely crushed it, because in 2019 with Uber Eats and all this stuff, like now you can deliver alcohol by like doing the app. That wasn't a thing back in 2016, 2015 or whatever.
Right.
So that was the first failed business. But what was really exciting about that was the potential. It's like, oh wow, like we get to run our own thing, and building it out was so fun, and having a business partner to like share ideas with and working on your own project, it was really really fun. And 2020, when the company I was working for made all these cuts to like, because of the budget and this and that, and it's like, well, if you're gonna cut your payroll, like if you want to save on your payroll, you don't take away money from your closers. So those are the people bringing in your money. Like you have closers now, right? And I have closers as well. I treat them like royalty. They're the bloodline of my business. If they don't produce results, then I'm not making money. Well, I don't know why they thought we were expendable or something, but what happened was there was like a team of 8 closers. I was the top guy. 6 of the 8 top closers all left within the month or 2 after that they did all that cut.
Probably costed them a lot more money.
Well, exactly. Well, they had to revamp their entire business structure. There was a lot of things going on at the time, but I still like those guys. I've spoken on stage with a couple of them since then, but the biggest thing it did remind me of was the fact that I'm a sovereign being. I can achieve freedom. I can do whatever I want. And so I'm making these guys millions of dollars. Why don't I just use the knowledge and the information I have to be able to coach people in my own specific way? So the first realization for me was partly business. Like I wanted to make a lot of money and I wanted to do it in my own way. But also one of the things that happened while I was working for them was a ton of the clients that I had closed onto their program started coming back to me being like, hey, Jose, like, can I work with you? Is that like an option? Like, can you coach me? Because I loved our conversation. It was amazing. And so a lot of these people I met in person because we were doing like these boot camps. We were doing like these personal development boot camps with like small groups of 10 or 12 people. And, traveling all over Europe, traveling all over the US, I met hundreds of people. And a lot of these guys would end up reaching out to me because they loved my feedback so much and they liked my energy. So, you only hear that enough times before you're just like, okay, I think I have something here. I think something about my energy, something about even the difficulty of my journey and dealing with my emotions and connecting with myself resonates with people to such a degree. Why don't I just start my own thing?
Right.
And that was the birth of Freedom Mastery.
So let me ask you this, I'm really curious to know the impact, like for example, this guy that made $72K his first month, why did he initially reach out to you? What was the transition, the solution that you provided to him? What impact did that make in his life, and where is he at like right now, just like the beginning to the end with him? Not just the financial outcome, but the bigger component of your program is spiritual change. That the whole Freedom Mastery is more than financially, right?
Certainly.
So, what's that story about? Why? How did you do it? What was he doing to make that income? Give me all the details about this.
Yeah. Great question. So,
and what's his name?
His name is Sean.
Nice.
And the money part is always the impressive thing. Oh my gosh, so much money, right? It's like
Right.
a sexy, marketable result. But to me, what's more impressive is like all the other changes that happen, not only in his life, but like my clients' lives. And for Sean specifically, I met him last year. He actually approached me. I think I'd like DM'd him or something. Like I have an appointment setter that messages people off my Instagram. And I think we had a couple conversations, but then he saw me speak on stage at my one of my business partners last year. He's one of the biggest hypnotists in the world, but he would bring me on stage and I would talk for 3-4 hours. And Sean approached me afterwards like, yo, I need to work with you. Like I have to, like there's something about your energy.
After
like,
hearing you on stage.
correct.
So it took a lot of nurturing.
Yeah, we were talking about the nurturing, right?
Yeah.
7, the rule of 7, right? It takes 7 touch points for someone to want to make a decision. But it was more, it was probably maybe like 3 or 4 touch points.
You're right.
And he was at a point where his specific journey was like, he was somewhat successful. You know, he was already making some good money. He's a vocal coach and he's a musician. And
A vocal coach.
he's a vocal coach, yeah. And he had some really, really big months in business. Like he had like a 6-figure month or something. But the thing is, he had a business partner at the time that basically stole all his money and sued the fuck out of him. And like, it was really like, he didn't get any of the money, you know? So a lot of that money came from their brand. The guy that he was like business partners with had like 1 million subs on YouTube or something. Basically like it was supposed to help him. It didn't help him. And now he was left broke with nothing. And he basically had to kind of restart over again. And the biggest thing that I coached him on that allowed him to make that much money was just really ironing out his entire sales and communication process. Because the way he was running his business is kind of how like most creative people run their business. It's just like, let me just make content and hopefully someone's interested, right? Let me just like talk about what I like and then hopefully someone is interested and I can charge them the money for it. Now the problem with that is, number one, you're gonna get a lot of people that are very unqualified, first off. And number two is, if you don't know how to close people properly and give them a powerful call to action, well then not only are you not going to make money, but you're also hurting them in their life. A lot of times the biggest principle and the biggest foundational mindset about sales and communication is to understand the fact that if these people don't work with you, not only is it a disservice to you, but it's a disservice to them because of all of the potential gain that they can experience by having a mentor like you in their life to optimize their mind, to optimize their energy, to optimize their business. Literally, like when I'm on a call with someone, they understand very quickly that if I don't work with this guy, my life is gonna be 10% as abundant or free as it can be. And this is the truth, right? Like for the people that have ever wanted to work with me and for whatever reason they didn't do it, I'll follow up with them 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, 18 months down the line, and their lives aren't better.
Right.
Their lives are worse. More time has gone by. They have more insecurity. They have more fear, probably more debt, and they're in the same spot. And as they say, you're either green and growing or you're brown and dying. And so that was one of the biggest shifts I created for him in terms of like his sales process and how he runs his business. It was just like all over the place. His business was like all over the place, but that's because his mind and his soul and his spirit was all over the place. Extremely messy, extremely chaotic.
Like he just wasn't aligned.
He wasn't personally aligned with himself and his vision, and because of that, he wasn't able to actually like deliver a compelling message to people that got them excited to want to invest in their vocal coaching. And I'll tell you why like this is so important for any business. It's because I can come into any business and sell it better than them. You know, it's kind of funny. It's when you're that good at sales, you're like a communication ninja. You can go into any business and absolutely crush it because the blueprint for why people make decisions is the same across every business. Right? It's people are motivated to alleviate pain. They want to alleviate pain. And so if for him, for example, vocal coaching, I want to be able to sing better. Okay, like that could be like to be able to sing like your favorite celebrity or musician or whatever. Okay, that's a good reason. But why? What's the reason behind that? Oh well, you know, like I just never really gave it like time prioritization. It's like no, but like for real, like who do you want to impress? Like how many, if you're a single bachelor guy, how impressed are girls gonna be that you have this beautiful voice? Like how cool would that be where you're on a date with a girl, you pull out your guitar and start singing for her? How, like that's a good reason to buy, you know?
Right.
Or you have a family and you've always wanted to be able to sing for your family and they love your voice, but you don't have the confidence to like, you know, just project and just go into flow state, you know? Like how much joy can you be bringing to your family or if you have fans? You know, there's always a deeper component as to why someone wants to do something. And as a master of sales and communication, your duty is to find out what that reason is and help them to realize it to make it important to themselves. So understanding just like even the foundational baseline of like what is good communication. Like a lot for him, like literally 1 month to the next, he made 72K in a month. Like he was like mind blown. He's like, holy shit, I cannot believe that this fucking happened, you know?
Yeah.
And he was collecting more money than ever before because it's like, you know, he was also doing things of like taking the lowest payment plan option possible. So he was getting all these really low deposits, like $500 deposit when it's like a 4K program. I was like, no, bro, you drop price at 4K and see if they can do the 4K. And all of a sudden people just started paying in full, you know, by not giving them the option to do the 4K, because most people, even if they have the money, if they have all the money on the front end, they'll just do the cheaper option.
Yeah.
Whatever gives it like more flexibility. But the truth is if they just paid it in full, not only are they more committed, but also you get the full money up front. So that was one big change. But what was even more impressive, all the spiritual and energetic changes that happened to him. It's like, let me describe to you, his heart rate was like, his heart was about to pop. Like he was just overweight and horrible, like his health was horrible. He was sleeping like shit, couldn't sleep well. And
singing coach?
Yeah.
I feel like they're usually like in good shape.
No, like, and that's the thing, he used to be in really good shape.
Yeah.
But it's because of all of like the trauma and the business things just created all of this like, this is what happens to people, right? When they experience trauma or things don't go their way, or like they experience too much, they experience failure, but they don't have the right mindset about it, they develop negative momentum, right? We talk a lot about positive momentum, right? You get into a flow state, you stay consistent, you're putting in the work, you start to get results, you get excited about those results, and you just keep moving forward. What happens to a lot of people is they get negative momentum, right? So they fail once. Now all of a sudden they're afraid of the failure, and they have a fear-based mindset, a scarcity-based mindset about what they're doing, and they're not excited to push past challenges. Guys like you and me,
right? When
there's challenges, we get excited. We're like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like, let's fucking figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
The average person, as soon as things are a little bit challenging, they freak out and they go back to comfort and security. And that's basically what was happening to him. It's like his whole mindset was programmed against him. His whole entire relationship with himself sabotaged his life and his results, to the point where even his health was suffering.
Right.
And this is the truth of like the majority of diseases and chronic illnesses and shit like that. A lot of it is mental and emotional. Mental, emotional, energetic.
I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth.
I like never get sick, and I think it's because of this.
100%. I haven't been sick in 10 years.
Me too.
You know, like, well, I got COVID twice. Outside of getting COVID twice, I literally haven't been sick since I was like 20.
It's like the more you fear getting sick, the more likely you are to get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why did doctors that worked in the hospitals where like COVID was crazy, they didn't get sick? Why? Because it's a mindset thing, because they understand it's like the placebo effect. Your mind and how you view yourself and how you think about who you are and your reality is impacting your experience of it.
Yeah.
And Sean's blood pressure was like 160 over 120, which is like insane. Like anything higher than that, your heart's about to pop. And within a couple months of us working together, because I helped him to connect with his spirit and connect with his soul and his energy in a much more life-serving way, it's like your nervous system starts to relax and you're not in a fight or flight state anymore, so you can actually think with clarity. And his blood pressure went back to normal range. Right. And his sleep is a lot better, his breathing is a lot better, all the things that like contribute to a higher quality health in life. So to me, and not only that, it's like now it's like he's got like a full team. He's got like a customer success manager, he's got like appointment setters, he's building the brand, doing podcasts, doing more of what he actually wants, which to me is like the more impressive part to me. Like that's the thing that, like when you feel good about yourself and you feel good about your life, it's like the money follows, the friendships follow, all the success you look for follows. So that's sort of where he's at now. Cool.
That's an amazing story. Good for you. Whatever your name was, I forgot. Sean?
Sean, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, great guy.
One of my closers' name is Sean. Shout out to you, Sean. You're a good guy.
Shout out to Sean, the closer.
Yeah, he's from New Jersey too, baby. Let me ask you this, dude. I mean, we've been here for 2-3 hours, right? For someone to put 2-3 hours into something, especially a high-level man like yourself, you gotta have a mission. What is your mission with Freedom Mastery, with being an entrepreneur, and just overall doing what you do? Because it's deeper than just like, I know for me, it's deeper than making money, having freedom for selfish reasons, right? We build a business for selfish reasons, for our own outcome, right?
Sure.
And impact our family and shit like that. But there's also, I think, a result attached to that to other people. Maybe you want to impact other people. What's your mission in life, like long term? Maybe it's not with Freedom Mastery, maybe it is. And what is your mission with Freedom Mastery as well?
Yeah, I often say, there's a really good book on this, and I get it from there. There's The Virtue of Selfishness by Ayn Rand, and she's she passed away, but
Selfish or selfless?
Selfishness, the virtue of selfishness. Okay. Yes, to be selfish. She also wrote another really good book called Atlas Shrugged, and basically predicting everything that's going on right now in society and social problems that go on in the world and where the world is shifting. But in the virtue of selfishness, the whole premise of the book is it's impossible for you to be a selfless person if you're not selfish first. Like, how are you going to contribute value to other people's lives if you haven't taken care of yourself first? You know, when you go on a plane, right, and they play that little video of like, here's a life vest and here's how it works. What do they say about if you're sitting next to your child, what do you do first? What do they say? What does the little video say?
I never paid attention.
It says put your mask on. It says, okay, I'll tell you, right? It says put your mask on first before you put it on someone else.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're dying, how the fuck are you gonna save the kid? You know?
Right.
Well, it's kind of the same thing for life, right? In order to be a strong, capable, dependable man who's able to contribute greatly to other people's lives, you have to exemplify that, and you have to be selfish with your time, with your attention, with your resources, so that way you can garner enough resources that you can give back to the people that you love. Right. And that is an aspect, I think, in like the spiritual community. It's just like, I'm one with the all, love everybody, love everything. But the truth is, if you don't have strong boundaries and strong fortification of who you allow into your life, well, it's like you're just indiscriminately giving energy and focus and attention to everybody. Chances are you're not inviting the right people. And so, you know, selfishness is definitely a virtue. And then eventually, once you are a valuable person that can contribute greatly to other people's lives, then you can be a lot more selfless, and you can be selfless in much grander and bigger ways, like how billionaires contribute hundreds of millions of dollars to philanthropy, and yet people are like, fuck the billionaires, tax the rich, and da-da-da. And for sure, you know, like definitely tax the rich, but also like, you know, those people have contributed so much value to society. That's why they have all the resources that they do now. But in any case, my bigger vision for life is that, right? I spent a lot of time to cultivate mastery in the skill sets that I find valuable to connect with myself so that I can be genuinely authentic. So that was a big part of my vision, self-mastery, right? For the longest time, up until about 25, 26 years old, is self-mastery. And, you know, part of self-mastery is it's an ever-evolving process of auditing who you are, upgrading your skill sets, upgrading your identity of who you are and who you intend to be. So I think self-mastery, it's like, there's definitely a portion there where you have so much value to share with the world that's like you get exceptionally good results. And also it's a never-ending process of evolution and becoming even greater and greater and greater. It's like a never-ending process. On a bigger scale, like outside of myself, it's emotional healing for people. I often say that part of my purpose is to be one of the best communicators in the world and one of the biggest thinkers of our generation. And the effect of that is to facilitate emotional healing for people at a very grand scale. Because of all the hardship and all the emotional trauma and all the difficulty I had with dealing with my emotions, I see so many people that do the exact same thing, but what does society do at large with emotions? We suppress them, especially in westernized culture, like the success grind mindset, like just grind, just go make fucking money and fuck your feelings, go make a bunch of money. If you don't have anything to show for yourself, then you're not a valuable person. And I think that is very true. It's like the darkness of our reality. The truth is like, yeah, if you don't have any money, if you don't have nothing to show for your life, then you know, you're probably just like a bum who just smokes weed all day, does nothing, you know? So don't do that, right? But then there's like another layer to the emotional connection that is just missed in society. And this is actually like, it's really funny that you asked this question, because this is like my $1 trillion question of my life, you know? The question of how do we actually help people master their emotions? And you see it in the world. You see how chaotic the world is. You turn on the news, everyone is reacting to how inflation's crazy and gas prices and groceries are more expensive than ever before, and the world is crazy, all these conflicts going on around the world, and oh my gosh, how am I gonna actually have a future? People are so uncertain about life. And to me, this is just like it's a major gap in the emotional connection that people have with themselves. This is why psychology, like in therapists and shit, this is why everyone needs a fucking therapist, right? Like people are taking Adderall to focus, people are taking antidepressants to not feel bad about themselves. The pharmaceutical industry is $1 trillion industry. And the thing is, it doesn't work. All it does is it kind of puts a Band-Aid over the problem, right? And the Band-Aid is people have all these emotions, they don't know what to do with them. And so a big thing I always advocate for is emotional mastery, to understand your emotions. Now, it's not the same as when you're an emotionally vulnerable person, that doesn't mean you cry like a little bitch and you complain that your life is unfair and you do nothing about your life. No, emotional vulnerability is a very responsible thing to do, because when you reconcile why you might have insecurities or why you might not feel good enough or why you don't feel valuable or feel worthy in your life, and you actually reconcile the parts of yourself that are disconnected emotionally, it allows for your power to come online. Like, you literally are a more powerful person when you view yourself as a strong, dependable, capable person. Like, every single day, are you waking up like, I'm the fucking man, let's go accomplish, right? You wake up like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that's how every man should feel. Yeah. Every man should, like, that testosterone, that drive to fucking go and accomplish your goals and become a man that is exceptional, that is confident, that is capable. Like, that is the essence of the masculine experience. But so many men nowadays, they don't have that.
And that's the transformation you help people with.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, because
that's how you should market your, like, from the beginning. You should just be like, hey, you know how there's guys that wake up every single day like you're gonna crush their day? Do you feel like that? No. That's how I'm gonna make you feel.
Yeah.
You're gonna wake up like Donald Trump every day.
Yeah, like Andrew Tate, you know, a lot of people, especially now that I'm bald, people are like, you're just copying Andrew Tate. I'm like, no, motherfucker. Like,
you don't remind me of him at all, actually.
Yeah. Well, I like to think I'm like a good combination of like Andrew Tate, but with like Jordan Peterson. You know, Jordan Peterson's a lot more like intellectual, sophisticated kind of thing, and Andrew Tate, he's also very articulate, but very much in your face, stop being a bitch, stop being a pussy, go get up and grind. I think the combination of that makes you a very integrated kind of man. And even for women too, by the way, right? Because women are, if anything, more emotionally disconnected than men in a lot of ways.
They're like men these days.
They're like, women are more masculine than ever before, right? And what that means is
they're fucking dominating more than men these days. They're holding down the fort
because they've been programmed to think that that's what they want. Feminism,
right?
For the last 100 years, feminism has been telling women, you're suppressed, you're oppressed by men. Men want to control you, and that's all they want. And women bought into this.
Right.
Women bought into this, right? And what it's created is like not every woman, right? But a lot of women have this like major defense mechanism. They hate men. And if a man doesn't come perfect with all these qualities, then they're not worthy of my attention. But then that's why 45% of women by 2030 are going to be childless and not married, which is like a crazy statistic, because that means 1 out of every 2 women you interact with is like, has no future mate, you know? And that's been the thing that humans have thrived on. It's like having a partner, having someone that you can have a connection with and build a family with.
Right.
And also too, it's like men are more feminized as well.
Yeah.
So, but my whole point about like the emotional healing thing is like, when men are masculinely integrated and women are femininely integrated, it'll alleviate a lot of the emotional distress that people feel in their lives, because people are more anxious than ever before. People are more depressed than ever before. And there's a major gap in that. As intelligent as we are as a society, we have all this crazy technology. Like, literally every piece of technology in this room is a fucking miracle. And we have safety and security where you're not gonna get attacked by a shark by jumping in the water, or by a tiger, or the enemy tribe isn't coming to raid your village and rape your women, sell your kids into slavery, right? We don't have any of those like crazy threats to our lives that even like 200 years ago was like
tough time.
Yeah, it was. Dude, 200 years ago, like, life was fucking difficult. We have so much luxury now, and yet we're more discontent. Yeah, we have more opportunity, more wealth, more luxury, more comfort than ever before. And yet people are so depressed. People are so emotionally disconnected. And a lot of
negative.
Negative, and they focus on how difficult things are. It's like the epitome of first world problems.
I feel like a lot of it has to do with basically television, newspapers, the information that people consume, you know, kind of trains them to be one way. And it's seen by millions of people, and so they're all one way, and they're teaching their kids that, and they're teaching their kids that. Do you think that has a lot to do with that?
Dude, 100%, bro. If you turn on any cartoon, what is the father in the cartoon?
Like American Dad or something?
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
Family Guy, South Park, The Simpsons, American Dad, all the other shows, I don't know, whatever shows are out now. The dad is always like some dopey dipshit, and he's like an idiot, and he's dumb. And he's just like a sperm donor, and then the wife is just like this bitch, and she's like controlling and shit like that. It's like, that's the family dynamic that has been pushed on for decades.
Right.
And that's why men are more feminized than ever before, because it's like they've been taken their power and their sovereignty to be a man, to be a protector, to be a provider, to be a leader. And they've sold women on the idea that, no, you need to be the leader. You need to be the person that doesn't take shit from anybody. And if any man tries to control you, that means he's a narcissist and he doesn't actually care about you. He doesn't actually love you, blah, 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 blah. So now women are extremely masculine now, having to defend for themselves, when the truth is, like, the thing that has created survival and thrival in humans has been masculine and feminine coming together, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of it is just societal programming, right? And if you go to the universities, right, like women in college, I remember this was really, really true. Like when I went to university, every girl, like, and this is a very like controversial thing to talk about, but like even with sexuality, people are just so open nowadays and like just fuck anybody and fuck anything. And the truth is that even like sex itself is a very spiritual, sacred connection that when you just share it with anybody, you are inviting energy and you're inviting entities into your body that are draining you of your life and distracting you from who you really are. And so a lot of these dynamics that are pushed on the people, yeah, like sex, just go fuck anybody, just fuck anybody that you want, it doesn't matter, like, you know, because women for years where their sexuality was used against them, and you know, it wasn't up until 40, 50 years ago when birth control came around that women can actually have sex openly. And to some degree that's true, right? Like sex is a part of like our reality, and sex is a part of like the human experience and our biology. And also you need to guard that with a level of sacred reverence.
Really? You think so?
100%.
So guys like Dan Brazilian.
Oh, Dan Bilzerian, yeah.
Andrew Tate, you brought up earlier, I'm pretty sure he gets laid a lot.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about them? Do you think they're hurting deep and down inside, or do they love
No, they're
life?
not, because they're disconnected.
Like it just doesn't...
First off, 99% of guys will never actually get that. Having a harem and having just like unlimited girls and shit like that.
I agree. But there are some guys out there who aren't rich who get laid like 4 times a week by different women.
Certainly, yeah. But the whole point with that is the sacred sexual connection. When you're sharing it with that many people, you're just like, you're depleting energy. You're depleting your life force. And a lot of guys like this, like the Andrew Tates and the Dan Bilzerians, if you actually like, only very spiritual people can actually kind of read between the lines and see between the lines. They are in such a vacuum and such a bubble that they don't even have to feel their emotions at all, because they just have consistent stimulation 24/7. You understand that?
Yeah.
Right? And
actually, I hate to interrupt you, but I literally seen a reel on Dan Brazilian saying that today, that he got to a point where he was like, what was the word you said again?
Which word?
Oh yeah, he was stimulating himself so much that basically, I don't know how to explain the way you just communicated, but basically he just kept, like, he already foresees himself being like a Hugh Hefner, and he doesn't want that anymore. He's like, yeah, it's cool while it lasts, right? Yeah. Like every man should experience that.
Certainly. So the first layer to this, and by the way, it's different for men and women, right? Like women have a different blueprint, men have a different blueprint, okay? And I can explain the woman blueprint, right? And it's gonna...
Women are gonna hate you.
Fine, fucking hate me, but I'm speaking the fucking truth, right?
Yeah.
The first layer, so on the top layer for men is like, in order to be an attractive man, you need to be capable of being able to get a lot of girls. A man who has a lot of options is a man who's attractive. And so on one level, like on the front end, if you're a guy and you're saying like, hey, sacred sexuality, like I guard my sexuality. The truth is you probably can't even get bitches. You know, like you probably have zero game. You haven't been with that many girls, and you're just saying that as like a cope or some shit to think that to feel validated about yourself. That I'm actually guarding my sexuality. But bro, like if you approached 10 girls at the club, all of them would fucking reject you because you have zero game and you haven't been with enough girls to actually experience what like abundances with women.
So they're justifying why they're a loser.
100%.
Okay.
And so there's a top layer.
So what are you saying? I'm confused here.
It sounds contradicting, but it's not. Here's the top layer is, in order to be a capable, confident man, and a man who is a man of status and a man who contributes a lot of value, you have to be able to get a lot of attention and exhibit attractiveness and know how to get girls. Like that's paramount for sure, 100%. Right. And then there's a bottom layer there, and any guy, certainly like all of my friends and all, I just talked with one of my business partners from last year. He's one of the biggest hypnotists in the world, and of all the guys that I know personally, he's one of the ones that's like that. He had like a different girl for every day of the week, always, you know. And even him now, he's like, I haven't been with a girl in 2 months. So
not even just like one girl.
No, he's like, no girls for like, I don't know how long he's doing it for, but he's just like, all right, I'm just wasting so much energy with these girls. My whole point there is you eventually reach a point where you have so much abundance that it's like, you're literally, think about like a billionaire who has a lot of money, is he just gonna give his money out to like anybody? Is he just gonna give his money out to like anybody that walks by? No, well, it's kind of the same thing when you step into that level of abundance, especially in your energy, and you just indiscriminately have sex, even if it's like super hot chicks and girls that like most guys would drool over, and you're just sharing your energy with them, you're just dumping out energy. And so a lot of men, when they reach that top layer of abundance where it's like, okay, again, you don't need to have like a harem like Dan Bilzerian. I've never personally had like 30 girls a day hitting me up or whatever, but I reached the top layer of, have you?
Yeah, of course.
30 girls in a day that you're talking to.
You're not living until you do, man.
I guess I'm not living, you know? For me, it was more so like, I had enough success and enough abundance with girls that I'm just like, okay, like for me, hooking up with a new chick does nothing for me.
Right.
Hooking up with a new girl, adding another girl to the notch or whatever, doesn't do anything for me. And a lot of like other men that I talk to and a lot of other men that I know that have cultivated that level of abundance, it's like you have to be a lot more very specific with who you share your energy with.
I agree, yeah.
And so that's where the second layer comes in, where it's like, okay, now that you know you're confident enough to like go talk to any girl, you're very confident in your ability to strike up conversation, create attraction, go on a date with them, bring them home, do all that stuff, and you've done that with enough girls. There comes a point there where more girls doesn't actually do anything for you. And in fact, when you become energetically connected with myself, and this is what I mean by like some of these guys like Dan Bilzerian and Andrew Tate, they're like
exceptions to the rule.
Exactly, certainly, but I would also reckon that there's probably a level of emotional disconnection that's going on there, because a man, and I know some of the most spiritual people in the world, right? Like some of the people that did energetic work on me, did energetic work on Tony Robbins. Like I'm talking about people that are like out of this world, out of this planet, and I consider myself a bit of an alien as well in that way, but their level of emotional and spiritual energy is so dense and penetrative and just like raw. It's like the rawness of life. They're not doing this. They're not hooking up with any girl that just comes their way.
Right.
And so there comes a point there, especially when you become very emotionally connected, that it's like you almost have to be very careful. Like even when I go on dates with girls now, I'm not trying to hook up with them on the first night the way I used to.
Right.
I'm actually trying to make them jump through hoops. Like I'm vetting them to see if they're the kind of girl I would actually like build a relationship with and have a life with. Right. And if my energy or my gut or my intuition or my heart feels disconnected with, like, I'll just kind of like, end the relationship or just kind of do whatever. Like I wouldn't actually take it any further than that.
Right.
And so that's like the layers. Like the top layer is, okay, you have to cultivate abundance, and then you become very specific with who you spend your time with. Mm-hmm. And you're probably not going, and if you want to, you can go hook up with any girl. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, you're being very, very particular with who you give your energy to, because when you become very, very spiritually connected, people that are awake and very conscious, they know that when you put your dick in a girl, mm-hmm. that's a very energetic and very sensitive kind of exchange. You're exchanging energy.
Right.
Whether you know it or not. This is like weird. I've had moments where I hook up with girls. I had this one girl that comes to mind in particular for me. I hooked up with her and she started telling me like afterwards, like, oh yeah, like I'm depressed. I've been taking like Xanax and all that shit, right? And bro, I swear to God, like even before, like she even mentioned. What the fuck are
you opening up to me so much for? I just fucking met you down the street.
But even while I was like hooking up with her, I was just like, well, this feels like, I'm like, ooh, I'm not even enjoying this, And then afterwards, bro, I had nightmares for like 2 weeks. So I swear to God, and like I was depressed, And it's because it's like when you have sex with someone, you're exchanging that energy. And so if you're exchanging energy with someone who hasn't done the deep work, who hasn't cultivated self-mastery, who it doesn't, especially for women, who haven't reconciled their traumas and aren't connected with their divine feminine, well then you as a divine masculine man, you're gonna take on their energy. So you don't wanna just sleep with anybody. And this is where like the Andrew Tate meets the Jordan Peterson kind of mentality, because Jordan Peterson also talks about this, where it's like, you want to be very particular, and then Andrew Tate is like, go fuck the hottest girls kind of thing. It's both. It's both. And for women, it's different. For women, it's you want to not hook up with guys. Like I often tell people, for relationships for guys, if you want to have like amazing relationships with women in your life, go get your heart broken. You have to experience that. Experience falling in love with a girl and believing everything she says, that she's your girl, she's always gonna have your back, and putting all that trust in her and all that energy and emotion into it, and then getting your heart fucking broken. As a guy, you need to experience that, because you need to be strong, capable, dependable. You need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, I'm sure this is true for you, the times in my life where I have the greatest expansion is like after a heartbreak. It feels like fucking shit, but afterwards I'm just in
a balls to the wall.
Let's fucking go, bro. It's like the masculine energy just comes alive. It's like, I'm gonna fucking make this girl regret this so bad. But now you don't want to stay in that energy.
Right.
You don't want to stay in that energy because she's controlling you whether you're conscious of it or not. If you stay in like a regretful, redemptive kind of energy. So eventually you want to graduate from that and say, okay, I recognize that this hurt me immensely. And also I want to do this for myself. I want to go be my best self so that way I can, I'm not going to contribute greatly to the people's lives around me by being a piece of shit and crying all the time. Or even going and achieving success to make someone else jealous or whatever the fuck that is.
Right.
So eventually you kind of graduate out of that mindset. But for women, it's like the opposite. You want to hook up with the least amount of guys. Because for women, that energy exchange is even way more sensitive.
Why? Are you a woman? How do you know?
Are you assuming my gender, sir?
How do you get, where are you getting this validation and information?
Where am I getting this information from? You need to do some emotional connection, bro.
I agree with the men part that you say so far because I realize there's a reason why most men who are fucking getting laid every day, they're like the biggest losers. They make the least amount of money. I've had conversations with guys like that who seem like they have the greatest life, their Instagram looks great, all the hot girls every day, but they're really deeply hurting.
Correct.
Then they're kind of just filling in the time that they have left outside of what's distracting them, using a woman as a distraction because it's the only thing they have in their life to fill that void.
Yeah.
And eventually most of them get sick of it. I had a friend that was like that. He was getting laid all the time, but he hated his life.
Yeah.
It looked from the outside.
I know a lot of men like that.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I had my times where I was going pretty crazy, but it gets old, right? But what I'm saying is, how do you know that about women I'm like one of those people where how do you know if you never experience it? And we both never experienced being a woman.
Yeah, certainly. But I mean, we also have empathy, and we, if you know enough girls, their experiences, and also I might also look. Let's be real. I might also just have a skewed perception of this because I know a lot of really femininely divine connected women.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't want you to misunderstand, but
you're not disagreeing with me, but you're curious about where I'm getting this information and this divine knowledge from. Part of it is I know a lot of very spiritually connected women, and they're absolutely amazing. They're tuned into their feminine, and they do not want to hook up with just any guy. In fact, they do the opposite, where it's they hook up with so few guys because it needs to be the right kind of guy that they actually, because for women, it's a much more energetic experience, right? When guys, we can hook up with a girl and there's no emotional to it. There's no emotion and energy to it. A woman, unless she's incredibly broken, unless she's been fucked and dumped a bunch of different times, then they are going to feel that energy and emotion.
Right.
And so I often tell guys, go get your heart broken for sure. And then I tell women, don't get your heart broken.
Right.
Stay away from relationships and with men. And this is because when you're divinely connected, especially women, to their sexual energy and their sexual power, it is such a gift, because just like I mentioned before, when I've hooked up with girls that they're depressed and they have all this emotional shit.
So let me ask you this. Can a hoe be a housewife?
Hell no, absolutely not.
Can she be turned into a housewife?
No.
Can she get her life back?
Yes, but I mean,
it's not fixable. It's not reversible.
Yeah. I mean, bro, why don't you go start an oil company? An oil company, it's a super saturated market and it's extremely difficult to make money in. Well, it's kind of the same thing if you're trying to turn a hoe into a housewife. It's you're working against the grain here, which is it's a bit unfortunate because part of the sexual liberation thing has made people more open sexually, which is a very important thing. And also, I think it's gotten way worse to the point where it's you see these podcasts with these girls that are I have 80 bodies at 20. You're what? You slept with 80 people at 20 years old? Bro, there's no, especially because the sexual energetic exchange for women is way more powerful and way more, dense to them. It's they feel it a lot more than men do.
Right.
There's no way that you're hooking up and exchanging energy with that many people and also be an emotionally aligned person.
What's her podcast?
You ever see the whatever podcast or the guys
Instagram?
Huh? What's her at? But yeah, I mean it's the truth. So part of it is I've just interacted with so many girls that I can tell in a moment's notice who's emotionally disconnected and who's not. And also I know very femininely divine integrated women, and they're not doing this. They're being very selective with who they share their energy with, who they share their body with, because it is a very sacred activity to do. And if you're doing it with just anybody, or you're doing it to get back at your ex, all these girls that like they'll break up with their ex and just find a new guy immediately afterwards, it's like that's emotional disconnection, dictating their reality.
But when we say hoe, like you can't turn a hoe into housewife, you're talking about like a real hoe, like someone that's got like 80 bodies, not someone that's had sex with like 5 guys.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Right. Like,
just to kind of define
look,
things.
and we're speaking in generalities, and the generalities are general, and so yes, it is possible to find a girl who was just like so confused and had so much stimulation in her earlier, like at 20, 21 years old, that she just kind of like just went with the flow and did all that, and then she realizes and she wakes up to her like spiritual connection, and she's a transformed woman. For sure, that is possible, but it's just less likely. The hoe into the housewife thing, for me, like the way I view this is more of like what's her perspective and her connection to life. How, like, does she actually see the beauty in the world, and is she actually a healed person? That's more so the important characteristic when it comes to like finding a partner, is like, is this person healed?
Have you ever had a client like that, like male or female, who's kind of helped them out with something like that?
Yeah, 100%. Like pretty much the majority of my clients, like the company that I used to work for, they specialized in like dating dynamics. They would help guys like with their dating life and stuff. A lot of it was more like personal growth and development related, but
you were doing the sales for them.
Correct, yeah. And a lot of my clients that I worked with there, and a lot of my personal clients as well, it's like what I'm really doing with them is the emotional healing part of it, where if they're a guy and they're already getting really, really great results with girls, okay, do you just want to be like a pimp and pimp it for the rest of your life, or do you actually want to find a strong, compatible woman who's going to be a wife and a mother and take care of the kids? Okay, so that, like, those two strategies require different approaches.
Right.
They like, to find a wife is a different strategy than finding another hoe, kind of thing. And to find a wife, it requires slowness, and it requires you to actually get to know them to see if your energies are compatible on a long-term time horizon. Do you guys actually have fitment with your future? Are your guys' goals aligned? With a hoe, it's like you just go to any club. We're in Miami right now. You just go to any club and find a girl. So
is there a specific one that you recommend to the viewers?
Yeah, like go to 11 or something. I don't know. Like for what? For finding girls?
You don't know?
What?
Come on, man.
I don't know. I don't go out. I don't go out. I don't go out anymore. But the whole point is like, have I worked on this with people like in their lives? Yeah. Like this is a big component, because, and this is why communication is such an important topic to talk about when it comes to personal transformation. Because unless you're gonna live like a hermit in a mountain or something, unless you're gonna live in a mountain by yourself and eat fish all day or something, you're probably gonna be interacting with people, and you're probably gonna want the partner. And so when you go on this path of self-mastery and your intention is to cultivate freedom, well, the people that you're associating with are going to dictate that. And so if you are spending all your energy just like fucking a bunch of girls and not really channeling that energy in much more productive ways, well, guess what? Your business results, your physique results, your mindset is going to be 10% of what it actually can be.
Right.
And there's a big, one of my favorite books, and I read this book early on, it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Chapter 11 is on the law, the art, or whatever, the principle of sexual transmutation. And so that sexual urge that we have to procreate, when you channel that energy into business, or you channel it into a worthwhile purpose, that takes you so fucking far. Yeah. But the thing is, if you're just spending your energy, you're literally spraying your life force, your semen. Semen is your life force as a man. Yeah. And you're just spraying that 24/7. Well, it's like you don't have any life force to actually cultivate a business or cultivate a community or bring an idea to life. And so a lot of
plus
times,
all the energy that goes on before you actually get to the splurging.
Right. You have to like take them on dates, and you have to talk to them, and it's like nurturing a lead for a business,
It's tough.
It's like take 7 touch points before you get to a yes kind of thing. Well, it's kind of the same thing. So, as you ascend in your journey into more success, like, yes, so there on some level, it's like maybe you want to hook up with a bunch of girls, but at some point it's like, it's kind of difficult to like entertain all of these girls and then also adequately give time to your business and to your idea. So having a strong partner, it's like, I mean, look, in the last year and a half, you've been, with your girlfriend, and like your business has exploded. Now, I'm not saying that she's responsible for that, but I'm certain that because you have such a connected woman, because I've talked to her before, and she's very spiritually in tune, and she's like, and she's got good cultivation and integration between masculine and feminine. She's very masculine because she's focused on business and pushing that forward, but she's also very nurturing and supportive, and she knows how to like be a feminine woman, the warmth, right? Like a lot of women lack that feminine warmth, you know, that ability to be so warm and so kind and so loving and so soft towards your man, rather than like how if you turn on the TV and you look at all these shows, the woman is like bitter and she's old and she's crusty and she's like always nagging on her fucking husband. It's like, if you want to kill a man's potential, be that woman. The woman who's just fucking nagging and picking and criticizing and just talking a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
But if you want your man to be the absolute fucking best, if you want your man to be if you want a king, you treat him like a king, not like a fucking peasant. And a lot of women just don't know how to do that because they're raised in a world where if your man is better than you, if he makes more money than you, if he's more confident and more powerful than you, then you're a fucking slave and you're submissive and you're nothing and he can just replace you in 2 seconds. No, like the most irreplaceable thing is a soft feminine woman, especially in today's world. It's so difficult to replace a girl like that.
Yeah, I really value that.
Yeah.
No, but I agree with you. I mean, I had a lot of success before I met her, but prior to that, I wasn't. Just to kind of support what you're saying is definitely correct, at least in my own personal experience. I can't speak for Dan Brazilian and shit like that. I mean, those guys are massively successful, but for me personally, leading up to like me, a couple $1 million, I wasn't like fucking a bunch of different girls. In fact, I think there was like a point where I think I was just getting laid like once a month. Like I have to get laid, I have to. It's impossible.
Yeah, we all
like,
do. Yeah.
I have to. Like I can't go like, I'm not gonna say I can't, but I feel like sex contributes to your success, but I wasn't like putting in massive effort, swiping on Hinge and shit. It's just like, if I get lucky, I get lucky. If not, cool. So I also value that alone time, like sitting alone and being happy with yourself and just, like you said, putting all your focus on that. Because if you're putting 8 hours per day into trying to get laid, it's like, dude, like what the fuck? There's a lot more to life than that. And then when she came, you know, I was able to advance more because then I could completely remove all the focus on getting women and just focus on her.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's a great, caring, independent woman for sure. But yeah, very strong woman at the same time.
Yeah. Your ability to cultivate that and invite that kind of relationship in your life happened because you established yourself. You found your power, you found your gift, and you shared your gift with the world, and you were successful in business, so you can invite that into your life. And the thing is, it's like a lot of this pressure that's put on men nowadays to be strong, to be capable, to be confident, to do all that shit. It's like, it creates this like crazy pressure and this crazy burden to be something and to do something, and you know, and that pressure is real. And there's much more effortless ways to achieve that. And a lot of it comes to like for example, like if you look at like a lot of the people that do dating content or, you know, all the pickup shit, we know guys that are massive in like the dating world that have really big businesses in this. Right. And a lot of them are like training guys to be something that they're not, essentially, right? Because the truth is, what's the best way to attract a high quality partner? Well, you're just 100% authentically you. Now the thing is, to be 100% authentically you, once you've already become a strong, capable, confident man, it's like being you is like, you're the fucking king, right? So you're able to create an ecosystem where you can invite a high quality girl that totally supports you. And you know, I think that's one of the bigger conversations I do have with my clients a lot, like especially the men, is in order to be that kind of man, in order to create that kind of lifestyle where you have plentiful options and you can pick whichever option you want, but you pick the girl that actually aligns with you. Because there's really something special, like when you have a strong, confident partner, like a strong, capable partner, and you know she's your girl, you know that no other guy can fucking steal her from you, and she's 100% loyal to you, and she's so supportive and she's so caring, and like she brings that feminine compliment to your life. It's like, it's very rare, especially for men in today's society, to actually have that.
Let me ask you this, because this brought up a really big topic, and you're gonna like this question, I think. When you're bringing that up, the only reason you wouldn't be yourself is because your fear of what she'll think of you. You don't want to show this side of Jose to her because you're afraid of what she might think of the real Jose, which is this one, so you show her this Jose instead. Not saying you, but just to give you a general example.
Sure, and I played that character plenty of times before. Yeah.
Right, so have I. I'm guilty as charged too. But not just in relationships, like fuck the relationship stuff for now. But with every aspect of life, there's so many people fearing of being themselves, afraid of what people will think of them, and that's stopping so many people from being such a fucking awesome person and so successful. Is just them their fear of critics, right? You know, like we were just talked about, like, dude, there's so many more things that we want to say on camera that we still struggle with that too. So what can people do, like content creators, people who want to build a business, people who really truly do want to get on social media? Because I think there's a huge part of self-mastery is just not giving a fuck what other people think, just truly being your genuine self. What are like an actual framework for someone to expose himself without giving a fuck? Like being like Andrew Tate, just fucking saying what the fuck you want and fucking saying it and putting it out there. How do you be like that?
Yeah, really great question. And this is like why people work with me, this thing right here. And here's like a top layer truth of this is that even if you are a total fucking dork, a total nerd, you have no confidence in yourself, if you owned that, you are so fucking attractive. Like people think being a shy person means like you're quiet and you're not confident in yourself and you're just insecure, you know? But the thing is, shyness is actually a really attractive quality. I'm actually a shy person, like believe it or not, right? I'm actually a pretty shy person. I'm more introverted than I am extroverted. And it used to be one of my biggest points of insecurity. And so I became a loud, obnoxiously loud person, you know, and you know, this was back in like my university days. I was on the executive board of my fraternity and I was super fucking loud and taking up a ton of space.
Really?
And I can do that if I want to. Like I've trained myself to be an extroverted kind of person, but naturally I'm more of an introvert.
Right.
And the thing is, when you're an introvert and you own that confidence, remember it's all energy. When your energy is so aligned with yourself and you feel like a fucking king regardless if you're talking or if you're not, that's attractive, right? Like shyness, when it's an attractive quality, it comes off as like mysteriousness. You know, like if I'm on a date with a girl, I'm not like trying to yap the whole time to fucking convince her of anything. I'm more shy, you know, whatever, I'm shy, I'm just more reserved or whatever. And in her mind, she's like, wait, why isn't he trying to do everything? Like, why isn't he being like every other guy who's just trying to get my attention and trying to impress me and all that shit? I'm just there, I'm just present, but my energy is grounded. I'm very like, you can tell that I own that part of me. And so it comes off as like this mysteriousness, you know? It's like they have to work for my attention. Right. They have to earn my trust. I have to see that this is a valuable, worthy person for me to exchange energy with. And I treat every relationship I have like that. Like our relationship is based upon that, right? Like I don't associate with anybody who has like weird, misaligned energy, you know? And so the framework that anybody can adopt in this is to understand that there's a niche for everything. Every dork, every nerd, if you talk about the things that you love and that you're excited about with enthusiasm, you'll find your people. You know, like there's a niche for everything, right? Especially with the internet nowadays. Like there's a niche for every little thing, every little weird thing, everything that's weird or quirky about you. If you were just 100% honoring that and 100% authentic to that, it's like you will find not only women that absolutely love you for who you are, and it comes off as very effortless because you don't have to be anything that you're not. The hardest thing to be in this world is something that you're not. The easiest thing to be in the world is 100% you. And not only will you find the right types of girls, but you also find the right types of friends because you guys are all interested in the same thing. You know, so my interests tend to be more like I like reading, I like spirituality, connecting with spirit, I like business and money, I like transacting with other people that are on the same path as me, that are growth oriented, that want to scale the quality of their life. They want to travel, they want to have epic adventures, that kind of thing. So I just talk about those things.
Let's say, for example, you're like me, and there's a lot of things you want to get off your chest, but you're in fear of doing it. And I'm not even saying this as an example, I'm saying this because it's true. Like there's some shit I want to say on camera that I'm in fear of saying because of the way people will judge me, and I'm just being honest because I'm very honest with myself. And I know so many people who struggle with that because they have a lot of valuable shit they can say, and they'll say it behind the camera when there's no cameras recording. And then there's people like, you know, like that's why I respect Andrew Tate and, you know, people like that is because they're not no hold bar. They're saying what the fuck is on their mind.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that they say, I'm like, man, I want to say that, but I'm afraid what Jack down the street might say to me because I'm supposed to be this proper business coach, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So how do you cross that path? How do you eliminate what people are gonna, again, it is easiest to be yourself. I love that you said that. It's a lot harder to act like you're someone else. It's a lot easier to act like who you truly are because like you are who you truly are. But how do you actually eliminate the critics?
Yeah, there's two things that come to mind. Number one is, well, you have to like identify what it is that you want to say that is polarizing or maybe not PC or whatever, or maybe not professional to say or whatever. You have to specifically identify what are those key points that you believe. What do you believe to be true? What are your truths about reality? and specifically like what is the thing that you're trying to say or want to say, what's the message you want to send to people. And when you can identify what that is and then sort of like reverse engineer, it's like, okay, well, why do I feel that this is such a, why am I so afraid of what people think when I say that thing? Well, then you can start to like objectively analyze yourself and be like, oh, okay, well, like what does it bring up in me when I think about saying this to people? Well, you know, I see other people that talk about it and how much shit that they get for it. And, you know, to me, that's a little bit scary because, you know, I don't want to be viewed as that type of person, or I don't want like that negative criticism or that negative feedback. That fear of the fear of criticism and the fear of rejection is like the biggest fear that people have, right? People would rather die than speak publicly, like do public speaking. People would rather die than to speak on stage. They're more afraid of stage speaking than they are of dying.
That's actually true.
That's like a statistical fact, a psychological fact. People are more afraid of public speaking than they are of dying.
No shit.
Yeah, people would rather die than speak on stage.
It is pretty scary speaking on stage.
Right. And
but
that's why it's such an admirable quality. That's why we admire people like Andrew Tate or anybody else that speaks truth, musicians, politicians. That's so, like there's like, okay, like I might not agree with what they say, but the fact that they're up there speaking that fucking message, it's like there's some truth and some boldness to be able to do that. So the first thing is you have to identify what it is that you're afraid to speak. And then the second step is to, once you identify what that is, you understand what the triggers are in you that are preventing you from saying those things. Then what you want to do is just eliminate everything, all of the excuses, all of the limiting beliefs that are stopping you from speaking that message, and just fucking say it. Right? Like it isn't like there is no way around it. You just gotta fucking not even force yourself, but just understand the fact that here's the principle that will help you like actually eliminate all of the fear around it, is that to the degree that people love you and respect you and love what you have to say and will be amazing supporters and advocates for your same message, there's going to be an equal and proportionate amount of people that think you're a fucking joke, that hate you, that want you to die. And your job as a person is to get people off the fucking fence. The worst place is people that are kind of like iffy about you, right? I kind of like what he says, or I don't know, you know. Who's the master of this in the world right now? Donald Trump. It's either like you fucking love this guy, you would die for him, you think he's Jesus, or you think he's fucking Satan, you think he's evil, and fuck him, like he's ruining the country. Oh my gosh, as if the president has any say on that, you know? The president is there for 4 years and then they're gone. The U.S. is not going to crumble in 4 years, whether it's Kamala Harris or Trump. I'm personally voting for Trump. And
that's my next question.
It would be retarded if we fucking voted Kamala, even though she's going to win. But my point.
Really?
Yeah. But my point here being is, well, we can talk about that too. But my point here being is the fact that like it doesn't matter what your message is. The more polarizing, the better. Right? To the degree that people love you, there's going to be an equal and proportional amount of people that fucking hate you. And you have no connection or no focus on the people that hate you. You focus all your time and attention with the people that love you and the people that support you. And your goal is to just get them off the middle. Like,
and you know what's funny is the people that hate you more is going to help you get more attention from the people that love you, because it's making it go more viral.
Yeah. What do you think the dark comment strategy is, right? The dark comment strategy is you get a bunch of fake accounts that comment negative bullshit, talking shit about you on your post, because more people will start talking shit, and it increases, that's like for social media, and it increases engagement. But outside of social media and building a brand, just even for life, right? You don't want to be associated with people or surrounded by people that you have to like watch what you say because you're afraid of offending people and all that shit. Like, I love people that have the same mentality as me, and not like in an echo chamber because I need people to agree with me. If not, like I don't feel good about myself, but more so from a place of like, I'm very open. I love irreverent humor. Like, I love dark jokes. I love all that shit, you know? And if I have to monitor, because if I say this, that person's gonna be offended and then the night is ruined and shit. Like, I had this one friend, this is to this day, this stood out to me. We were watching like the NBA finals, and the Heat were playing, I forget, it was like the Lakers or some shit. And the Heat were getting
the Bucks.
Or the Bucks, something like that. Well, we lost.
Yeah.
And it was like a minute left on the game. We're down by like 15, 20 points, and it's like, yeah, it's game. And one of the guys that I was with was like, Jose, don't fucking say that. I'm like, huh? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you gotta have faith, bro, have faith. Like, what if we make a comeback? I'm like, bro, 20 points in a minute, that's not gonna fucking happen. Like, we lost, bro, get over it. And he's like, bro, like, don't come around me when we're watching sports if you're gonna be like this. Like, you're from Miami, you're supposed to root for the team. And I'm like,
you guys so
I don't feel like, I'm like, that's retarded, bro. But like, first off, like, I don't want to associate with people that are going to bring the energy down, that are negative, that are gonna be emotionally reactive about stupid shit like sports. I wanna do this. I wanna have intellectual conversations and take things apart and understand it and really like, from a place of objectivity, right? We might disagree on certain points, but what we're doing here is we're coming to an understanding. I don't want to be around people that have to fucking monitor what I say 24/7 because I'm afraid of fucking offending someone. You know?
All right. It's super uncomfortable.
But you were gonna ask about like Trump or Kamala Harris or something?
I don't want to talk about that. I fucking hate politics, and I don't give a fuck who wins.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna win. That's all that matters is who's gonna win. Eric's gonna fucking win.
That's the stance that I take as well. Like one of my clients, and now he's a really good friend of mine, but he just went super viral because he's black and he's like used to be a super liberal, but now he's kind of turning the other way and like voting for Trump now. And he voted for Biden back in 2020 and stuff. And like he's gone super viral for talking about like all the politics and what the Democratic Party is doing. Yeah. And Trump retweeted one of his posts.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And he's gained like thousands of followers, millions of views and shit in the last month or so.
Because he's himself.
Because he's being himself, and also like he fits like the perfect demographic to talk about this, right? Black guy who used to be liberal talking about the other things.
Is that the guy with the dreads? Did I meet him?
Yeah. You haven't met him yet. I don't think so.
Oh, it's not the guy that had a coaching program. I did like a Zoom call with you guys.
Oh yeah. He
had like
similar to me.
Right.
He does what I do, but from his perspective.
Right, exactly.
And I posted a video talking about this because I have family in politics. You know, like my dad's cousins were in the House of Representatives in Florida.
Really?
And one of my dad's other cousins is a famous anchor on MSNBC. He's like world famous. And even back in Cuba, my family, like my dad's uncles and shit, where they're on one of them was a Secretary of the Interior, which is like high on the chain of command in Cuba. So he was like a couple chains below the president, Fulgencio Batista. My grandma's cousin was Fidel Castro's first wife, so my family was super deep into politics. And, I don't talk about politics for that reason, because it's like, all right, I can talk about this stuff, but also first off, I'm white, at least I look white, and a Cuban who's more libertarian and like, right leaning. It's nothing special. So there's nothing like whatever. But also beyond that, it's like, I think it's much more productive to talk about this right here, like energy, and talk about, whatever's going on in the world. It's not going to affect your life more than you actually think it is. Whoever the fuck is the president, if you have the right mindset and you're connected with who you are, what your mission is, you're going to make money in any economy.
Yeah.
If you're connected to who you are in your core, you're going to find the right relationships.
Right.
If you're connected to who you are and what your mission is and what your purpose is for life, it doesn't matter what's going on externally, you will have freedom. So cool, we can talk about politics, and I guess it's good to be informed about what's going on to some degree, but also like people, I think, just consume their entire reality with the whole political discussion. And it's like, cool, like, but also what's going on in your day-to-day life? Like, are you hitting the gym? Are you making the changes necessary for you to get to that next level in your business and your career? Are you surrounded by amazing people full of love? All right, like if you got those things, it's like, it doesn't matter what's going on in politics. You're gonna have a truly abundant life, and it starts with like that spiritual connection. So politics is like a really sensitive subject to talk about, because someone's political beliefs tells you a lot about their mindset and who they are.
Right.
But I think beyond that, it's like, it plays a much less significant role on your day-to-day life than people make it out to be. The president isn't responsible for gas prices.
Right. Yeah, so, like a lot of people try to play the blame game on politics.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if this person was the president and there was no inflation, I'd be rich. Yeah. Like, no, bro, it just doesn't fucking matter who the president is.
And I think
unless you're in like fucking Africa where your life is just fucked. No,
Yeah, certainly, right. It's like they have a lot less.
But in America, like,
but actually, dude, Africa has a lot of opportunity also.
But there's some people that like have no opportunity. Of course, there's people, like I've had employees from Africa who ended up, growing a business and moving to America. Like there's really no.
Yeah, there's like real poverty, like.
But it's like you're fucked over there in certain parts.
Certainly. Yeah. There's like certain parts of the world where like poverty is like in India and Africa and shit. Like, bro, poverty is really, really bad.
Right.
Like when I was down in Argentina, there's like really rich parts of Buenos Aires, and then there's parts that are like favelas in Brazil. Like it's literally like my buddy who lived down there. goes, yeah, don't walk down these streets. Like they'll know in an instant that you're not from here and they'll fucking attack you. Like, okay, like, you know, there's like these dangerous favelas. Me and my brother, we still walked through them for a little bit, but we didn't stay too long. We didn't overstay our welcome. But yeah, you know, I think what's more productive is to talk about like your spiritual connection with yourself. Like take control of your reality. And the thing is, it's like the reality that you live in is a reflection of you and your inner beliefs and your inner thoughts and your feelings about who you are and the kind of world you live in. And so if you're giving all of your attention away to like the chaoticness of, you know, Trump said this, oh, now Kamala's saying that, and the left and the right, it's like, you're like indiscriminately spending your energy again. Also, the same way you would do if you just fuck anybody, if you have sex with just any person that like shows up at your door, you're indiscriminately spending your energy. So, you know, of all the things that you can focus on with your time and attention, the political stuff, it's really fiery and it's very entertaining. And also, by the way, real politics is super boring.
Yeah.
Real politics is so boring and so slow and so difficult to understand. Like you need a law degree. You need to pass the bar to actually understand. Like my dad is one of the few people that I actually know that watches real politics. There's a channel, if you guys don't know this, there's a channel called C-SPAN. And C-SPAN has like the actual hearings and the actual Congress events and meetings and stuff. And it's super slow and super boring.
That's the channel where you're like, get way past it.
Yeah, exactly, right? You know, but my dad will sit there for 3 hours and watch the whole thing, you know? So like a lot of times I go for political perspective, I just ask my dad because he's very neutral because he watches all of it. But, you know, what's going on in like the political race, and this has been for decades, you know, it's just like sensationalizing conflict to distract people from the power that they have within themselves to create an abundant reality. That's all this is. Like the mainstream media, social media at large is designed to distract people from themselves.
Right.
They want to create conflict and steal your energy so that way you don't achieve freedom in your life. It's like the Matrix. We literally live in a fucking simulation.
How much do you balance yourself with entertainment and, you know, just what you do with your daily life?
Yeah. For me personally, I actually do a little bit more entertainment nowadays. You know, for like the last decade and a half, like I've almost never watched TV, I almost never played any video games.
Right.
And actually for the last year, I've actually been playing a little bit more video games than a little bit more.
I think that's because you can completely ignore the information that it gives you and understand it's just entertainment.
Well, actually, look, and this would probably be like a goodish point to wrap up on in a second here, but one of the things about like becoming like a very conscious person is that everything becomes spiritual, right? So doing drugs like a Molly or something at a club is a spiritual experience. Mm-hmm. Having a conversation where we're just talking about a podcast is a very spiritually enlightening experience. Right. Walking down the street is a spiritually inspiring experience. Even for me, a lot of times I watch shows like anime or something is a very inspiring experience where this is where like the dichotomy of success kind of starts to show up, where there's a contradiction because, you know, like you talk about this a lot, just grind, work 12 hours a fucking day, blah, blah, you know.
But I still watch movies and play video games.
Sure, right, yeah, your PS5 was out there, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, so on one level, yes, you need to grind and you need to go like fucking work hard for your mission, your vision, whatever you're building. And also there's like another thing to it where like your relationship to life is so much better that it's like you get high level results without having to do 100 hours a week. Right. And you are able to watch a TV show or something. Like there's a show I'm watching right now called The Man in the High Castle. It's like it's like from 2015. And it's the whole plot to it is post World War II, like 2 decades after World War II, except the Nazis won the war. And like, it's like that's really interesting. But there's even parts of the show where they're like timeline jumping. They're jumping from one reality to the next, and they're fulfilling different prophecies. It's really, really interesting. But like, even just watching the show, I derive a ton of spiritual like connection from it. It's like, well, that was someone hired out an entire team, produced the whole film, spent millions of dollars to produce it. Like someone spent millions of dollars to produce this film, and they did 4 seasons with 10 episodes, an hour each per season. How much time and energy went into this? Like I start. Like my connection to life is so much greater now, and I see the beauty in everything that even just watching a show to me is a spiritual experience.
Yeah,
you know, I thought really not case of that. Sometimes sometimes I go to a restaurant and I start thinking like, damn, man. Like I think it was at Hell's Kitchen. I was like, man, this is a big space.
Yeah,
I'm like eating the food and I go for the layers. This food's okay. And I'm like, imagine how much they paid for this. Man, how did what's the name? Gordon Ramsay do all this. The advertising, you get on fucking. That's the shit I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
The same thing on shows.
It's like the entrepreneur mind. Yeah.
Look at this guy.
Yeah. It's like it's also part of like the entrepreneurial mind where it's like you walk into any business and you can kind of like, or watch any business or watch anything, and you can kind of dissect. It's like, okay, where's the value proposition here? How are they making money from this? Where did they like find this big thing in order to fit on the show kind of thing? Or like, where do they find this big artifact to put in the middle of the restaurant? Yeah, it's like I'm constantly analyzing shit like that too.
But there's a saying, there's a study, and this is a fact, I just don't know the real numbers. They say like only 30% of humans use this part of their brain, that it's something in your thinking process. It's like a creative thinking that only 30% of people use.
It's less, it's for sure less. It's for sure less. Yeah, it's the critical.
It's like 20.
Yeah. It's like the critical thinking part of your brain. That's what it is. Yeah. It's there's I don't know like the lobes, the prefrontal lobe, cortex, whatever. Like I know some of the terminology, but essentially like most people, because a lot of reasons for why this happens or why people are this disconnected. But most people aren't able to see the beauty in things because of like the way their mind is programmed, right? And like this is done throughout society, throughout your entire upbringing. This is why the news is pumping conflict and hysteria all the time to put you in a state.
It's getting less and less and less.
Because here's what happens. When you're in a state of cortisol, when you're in fight or flight, because the world is ending, oh my gosh, all this crazy shit, the president is gonna fuck the whole country. Like when you're in this state of fight or flight and you're uncertain about your future, the critical thinking part of your brain shuts off. But when you've done the deep work and you actually see that there's plenty of abundance out there. There's so much abundance in this world. Like there's enough space and enough riches and enough wealth for everybody to actually get their own piece of it. Like, and that's true. Like, look outside your window here, bro. That building, $100 million. This building, $100 million. The one next to that, there's literally hundreds of billions of dollars worth of commerce and business and shit going on here, just like in this zip code, you know? Right. And this is just one zip code of like the millions.
It's just like this one block.
Yeah, just this one street, like Brickell Ave, right? And so so when people are in a state of fight and flight, they can't think critically and they can't see the bigger picture. And this is done intentionally to block people, to control people. It's done for control, because if your entire society, if the 330 million people in America instantly became awakened, the entire functioning of society would crumble at an instant. But that's why they put the thing that blocks your pineal gland, right? They put phosphate. They put phosphate in the water. They put phosphate in your toothpaste. Is it phosphate, phosphorus? There is something that starts with the phos in your toothpaste, in your food.
Avoid that shit.
So you have to no more. Don't drink tap. You don't drink tap water, but don't drink getting tap water. The foods that you want to make sure that the ingredients label on your food has the least amount of ingredients, the least amount of processing.
So it's like almost.
Not only that, the music that you listen to. The frequency of music that you listen to is also doing this thing. Like, it's distracting people. If you listen to rap music, that's just like, fuck bitches, get money. And even the frequency of the vibration of the music is creating disharmony in your energetic field.
Yeah.
You know? So a lot of spiritual people, they listen to like really simple music. They listen to live music.
To me, it gets them motivated to make money.
Yeah, certainly, yes. But the thing is, even people that make a lot of money are extremely disconnected. And so the point here is that, okay, that critical thinking part of your brain is shut off. And when it's on and your awareness is tuned in and tuned on, you can still do those habits or those things that are distractions to your success, like playing a video game or watching a show. Not only can you do them in like an adequate amount of time where you're not spending 12 hours a day to develop your brain, but you're doing it because you genuinely see the enjoyment of the show. So there's like a different relationship to it.
Right.
But also it's like, there's no guilt and shame about it. Like I can watch a movie now and not feel guilty about like, oh my gosh, I just wasted 2 hours. Yeah. Because that's like the part of me before was like, I need to be successful and grind. You know? Yeah. So, a lot of this like self-mastery and healing work is about reprogramming your relationship with life, which ultimately also helps you to make a lot of money, because when you're clear in your thinking, you're able to demonstrate your value and you're able to deliver an offer or a solution to people in a much more compelling way, which will influence how much money you make in the first place. So a lot of times it's like, I'm not even focused on my clients making more money. I'm focused on just making them more powerful humans, making them more confident that they are. Because those are the people that make a lot of money in the first place.
Right.
A lot of times, right? Unless you're like some trust fund baby or like some drug kingpin guy who's like, let's just go, like, get the bag, bro. Yeah, like, yeah. And I think it's
that the kingpins need that too, though.
Certainly, bro. Like, you'd be surprised at how like
it's a business. It's you have to be smart.
Bro, business is a spiritual experience. I know you like to think or say like, oh, fuck your emotions or fuck your feelings or that you're not spiritual. But like, in fact, like, I'm sure that as you continue down this path, like more spiritual clarity will be something that you talk about, like, and to be able to articulate, because you've been so focused on business, and the even just practicing spirituality and being able to speak it is like a skill set in itself. And you like already, you know it inherently, and I'm sure that at some point in the future you'll be able to speak it much more clearly, much more specifically.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm definitely, something I speak about sometimes is the entrepreneur spirit, right? Some people kind of have this, some people don't. But it's something you feel within, you know what I mean? It's just something hard to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're kind of getting on the clock here now, are we?
How much time we're about, our mics are about to run out of battery, so.
Okay, so yeah, man, I mean, first of all, if you could just wrap up, you know, just one special message in a short sentence to kind of like, you know, wrap this whole thing up in one single message that could potentially impact their life, how would you do so? Like, what would you say?
Of all the things that I can say, this world and this reality, this life is a simulation. And the simulation is going to reflect to you your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs about it. And so when you can reprogram that relationship with your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs about who you are and the kind of world you live in, you will step into levels of power and authenticity and clarity that, like, all the abundance that you're looking for becomes the effortless byproduct of who you are. And that to me is free, to be able to do whatever you want on your own terms, but nothing holding you back. So master yourself.
You need to master. Yeah, that's it. I love that. That's savage. And where can someone get help from you? And honestly, like, for some of you people listening to this who want that freedom, it all starts with, you know, I'm very big on advertising, make money, like you said, but it all starts with belief in yourself, and that comes from self-mastery. It's just a different word, in my opinion, of saying belief, because you got to master yourself to believe in yourself. And it's like they say, you know, people, you can't outwork a bad diet. I say that you can't outwork a bad belief system. You're never going to get rich if you don't believe you can get rich or successful on any aspect of life, whether it's relationship, spiritually, career, or whatever it is. So honestly, just saying, like, I'm not saying this belief, you have to shift your beliefs. You know, if you motherfuckers are stuck, you know, get help from someone like this guy. So how does someone get help from someone like you so that they can start believing themselves, having more abundance, more success? Where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at Jose Moralejo, or on YouTube at Jose Moralejo. So JoseMoralejo. And for my one-on-one program, you have to apply for it. I'm very specific with who I work with, because you have to be the right kind of person. You know, if you're the kind of person that, like, just like you were saying before, that if you're not willing to put in the work, and if you're not willing to challenge your belief systems, if you're not willing to step into the unknown, I can't really help you. So there's like sort of like a vetting process of the people that I work with, which is also why my clients get such good results. Like, I make sure that I work with a very specific type of person. I'm not afraid to say no to someone, and ultimately, you know, it's not, I can't help everybody, and it's not because I can change anybody's lives, but they also have to be willing to change as well. So I'm very particular with where I bring on. But yeah, you know, if they want to reach out to me and see if they got what it takes to be part of Freedom Mastery, they can go ahead and reach out to me.
Love it. So again, that's Jose Moralejo. Thanks so much for coming, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Boom.